what's up? I'm Brian here doing another video for you guys, and this time it's probably going to be an unedited mess of me just rambling and ranting and talking about stuff, so just so you know. Anyways, this is going to be a review of Transformers Rise of the Beast. It finally has premiered, it's in theaters, and people can go watch it, which is kind of a big deal, considering that we've been talking about speculation and rumors and just all sorts of stuff leading up to the release of Transformers Rise of the Beast, all the way from the beginning when Bumblebee came out and they were talking about wanting to do a Beast Wars movie. So this is that Beast Wars movie that we were promised long ago. And I'm going to talk about light spoilers, but before that I want to talk about how I feel about some of the previous Transformers films, because as you can tell, I'm a Transformers fan. So you think, oh, I like all the Transformers films. Age of Extinction, not really the best. The Last Night is one of the worst films I've ever seen. And Bumblebee I thought was a nice switch in the right direction because it had a lot of focus, and that's what I've been wanting in the Transformers franchise, especially with a Transformers character, because this is the Bumblebee movie. So I thought that was good, and if that's the direction that the Transformers franchise is going for, then I'm excited to see what comes out in the future. And, well, the first entry is Transformers Rise of the Beast. So the Terracons are on Earth. It is 1994, and they are searching for this key that will allow Unicron to be set free to destroy other worlds. So the Autobots and Maximals have to put a stop to that and team up. So my initial thoughts on this film is I liked it. I like it a lot. I think that there's some good action moments, and I really like the characters involved with this movie, especially when you compare it to the characters in The Last Night. There are some characters that I feel could have been better, or just some characters that didn't really land, like Stratosphere. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about him. Rhinox, I barely even know who this version of Rhinox is. They constantly say that he's an intelligent character, but when they're talking about the plot and what has to go down, he just sits there in silence. He doesn't really do anything as far as... I don't even think he said anything in the entire movie. Someone said he said one thing in the film, but I don't recall anything. So I feel like that's kind of a missed thing. Cheetor has more lines than Rhinox. And I like Cheetor, but I kind of feel like Rhinox should have stepped in and be like, well, this is how things are gonna go, and we can do this and that, and blah, blah, blah. You know, something sciencey. But the rest of the characters I thought were fine. Optimus Primal was pretty good. He actually had a pretty good dark moment, and it's kind of sad what happens with Primal. Optimus Prime is a more angry version of the G1 Optimus Prime, but he's not entirely a savage like some of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. He's more just annoyed that he's been put in this situation and would just rather go home. So you can kind of understand where he's coming from there. Yeah, the rest of the characters, they seem fine. The human characters I weren't really annoyed by, except for a couple that were just kind of meant to be annoying, but they weren't really in the film for too long. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm gonna pull my hair out when this character showed up again. Nah, most of these annoying characters had either one or two scenes, so that's pretty much it. But I will admit that this film does have quite a few problems. Some of it has to do with the pacing, especially in the second half of the film. I think that certain things in the movie could have been improved or could have been just refined for the film, like I mentioned with Rhinox. It's really unfortunate with the Maximals because in the last fight you finally get to see the robot modes, but you can't really tell any specific details with them except for maybe the weapons. If they didn't have the weapons, then you could probably not tell who's the Terracons and who are the Maximals. Because most of the Terracons that you see in the later part of the film are all gray, and they're also set in a gray backdrop. Now, that might sound like a bad thing, it might sound like a blur, but it's not as bad as you might assume. It's not like the first fight with Bumblebee and Barricade in the 2007 film, where they're just kind of going like this and shaking around and you can't really see who's who. No, this you can definitely tell, you know, who's Optimus Prime, who's Mirage, who's Bumblebee, and whatnot, so that's good. I think Scourge is a really intimidating villain. He is definitely the POV of the film, and I'm so glad that they got Peter Dinklage to voice him. He is awesome in this movie. There's a scene where it's almost kind of satanic what happens to him. I know I don't like talking about magic in Transformers films because it's a sci-fi movie, but there's one moment where it almost feels like it's magic, and I'm totally okay with it because it's kind of scary at that moment. But yeah, I think Scourge was pretty good. What else is there to say? I know there's a lot. I watched it last night, and I had a lot of stuff to do today, so there's a lot of stuff I'm kind of blanking on, but Mirage was good as well. I actually really like Mirage. I think another problem that I had with the film was that most of the time it just felt like we're trying to get to point A to point B as fast as we can, or just as easy as we can, because at certain points they just have a meetup where they're like, okay, this is what's going on, here's the plan, here's what we're gonna do, and then it shows them going to that place, and then they're at that place, now they're trying to get the thing at that place, and that's pretty much the progression of most of this film. So I think that's probably why the pacing feels weird about this. Also, when it comes to the last fight, there are some good action moments, but it feels like it drags a little bit. But what I'll say is this, and this is the best part of the Transformers film, is it's about the Transformers. You know, you don't have a bunch of human characters shooting in the desert or just shooting around, and you don't really see the Decepticons or Terracons that they're shooting at. No. You got the Maximals, you got the Autobots fighting Terracons. That's what you got throughout most of it. And then you do have two human characters by the end of it, but I think they're fine, because one of them is significant to the plot, and then the other one actually suits up in the movie. You can see that in some of the TV spots and trailers, and it's a pretty wicked scene with him fighting beside Optimus Prime. I mean, I feel like anyone would want to do that. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's basically my main thoughts on the Transformers film. There is another thing that happens at the end of the movie, like the very end of the movie before the mid-credit scene, which there is a mid-credit scene, and I was not expecting that. I was expecting something else, because when it leads up to it, you think, oh, it's this. No, it's that. And it's like, whoa. So I'm hoping that they continue off and do something with that. But otherwise, yeah, that's just my initial thoughts on the Transformers film. There are a few surprises for myself, and this is coming from someone that pretty much, you know, was vigilant with the production of the film. But otherwise, yeah, that's just how I feel. So with that out of the way, what do you guys think? Please comment below, let me know. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and all those fun doodads. And I will see you guys next